God, look at that picture over there. There's the Earth coming up. Wow, is that pretty?
Hello and welcome to the image critique session of the Astrophotography Prize. We're thrilled to have you join us from wherever you are in the world. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening and good night. I'm Andy Campbell and I'm your panel chair for this session. This afternoon we're joined by some legendary astrophotographers, but before I introduce them, I'd like to introduce our sponsors. So thank you first of all to our major sponsor, Celestron. Celestron are awarding our 2025 overall winner with a $3,000 Edge HD telescope. In addition to this, we have the 2025 Celestron Prize, which is awarded to the highest scoring image taken on a Celestron OTA. The winner will receive a Celestron Origin Intelligent Home Observatory valued at $4,000 US. So thank you, Celestron. For this session, Celestron are also giving entrants a chance to win a Celestron SkyMaster Pro 15x70 binoculars valued at $300 just for participating. So that will be a random draw and we'll announce the winner of that at the end of the session. We'd also like to thank our category sponsors, Sidereal, Move Shoot Move, Deep Sky West, and Chroma Technology. And our runner-up sponsor is Astrophotography. So I'd like to introduce you to our fantastic panel of judges, but behind the scenes we have Daniel Bingham, who's running the fantastic software, and Nathan Bingham, who is the live stream coordinator. Today our judges from the USA are Kevin Moorfield and Bob Coates, and from Australia we have Ari Rex and Steve Boddy. A little bit of background on our fabulous judges. Kevin Moorfield has a lifelong passion for astronomy and a university degree in photography. Kevin's been photographing eclipses since 2002 and began deep space imaging in 2014. He's operated imaging setups at Sierra Remote Observatories in California, OBSTEC in Chile, and Howling Coyote Remote in New Mexico. His work has earned notable recognition, including a cover feature of Sky and Telescope magazine, 45, count them, Astrovin Images of the Day, and shortlist placements for the 2023 and 24 Royal Greenwich Astrophotographer of the Year. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you. Good to be here.
We welcome Bob Coates. Bob began his professional career in 1995 after more than a decade of exploring photography, starting in the Caribbean with commercial work, and later embraced weddings before relocating to Sedona, Arizona, where he expanded his business. Today, Bob focuses on commercial projects, wildlife, and fine art as a lens-based artist, blending photography with digital artistry. He's written articles and books, presented programs from Hawaii to the Caribbean, including Imaging USA, and served as a judge in local and international print competitions. Bob also leads Milky Way and night sky workshops in Sedona. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
We welcome Steve Boddy. Steve is an award-winning photographer, music composer, and educator based here in Melbourne, Australia. He brings a creative and technical background to astrophotography with a strong focus on image processing and collaborative imaging. As a member of the Deep Sky Collective and the New Horizon team, Steve has contributed processing work to numerous collaborative discoveries, including SDSO-1, the first identified ghost planetary nebula, and co-authored the research paper led by astronomers from the Space Telescope Science Institute. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
And also from memory, not less than 20 Astrovin images of the day, including the one that is current. So well done.
Thank you.
So this is pretty awesome. Now, let me just jump on here for 1 second. Okay. We will crack on today with looking at a bunch of images. The judges are going to review the images live. They will give you, as entrants, some feedback and some information about what your image looks like now, how perhaps it could be further improved. And of course, the intention of all of this is to educate and rise the standard of astrophotography, because we believe a rising tide floats all boats. And what we'd like to see is everybody's astrophotography improving. So that's why we have this competition and why we have these wonderful judges from all around the world contributing their time to help. So without further ado, that's probably enough from me. Let's crack on to the first image, please. And I will just head over there. Alrighty. So we have a deep space image, and the description of SNR G296.5 plus 10, focusing on the Mermaid Nebula, image with an OSC camera, a Skywatcher Star Adventurer GTI, Optolong L Ultimate, and we have 10 20-minute exposures. Now, which of our deep space team would like to take this one on first?
Sure.
Okay, Steve, you're up.
So first of all, really like the composition, like the position of a mermaid in the frame is really quite attractive. Like the rule of third, really well applied here. I think the first things that come up for improvement is maybe the noise pattern. I think is quite grainy, and I would definitely have a look at improving the noise reduction in especially the lower brightness area. Also, the HA glow around the mermaid may be a little bit strong, and the highlights in some of the part maybe could be like brought down a touch, as it seems to be clipping to me from what I see. But otherwise, the style seems to be good shaped all across the frame, and yeah, it's a really good attempt. It's a very, very difficult target.
Thank you so much, Steve. Steve, what makes that target difficult, do you think?
It's really faint.
Uh-huh.
And you need to push the histogram quite hard to get the details. And here, based on the amount of exposure taken, I'm not even quite sure it's enough to be able to have a really good kind of noise in the frame with that much exposure. I would kind of triple, quadruple that to be able to be in a good spot to start processing it, I think.
Thank you, Steve. Could we have the next image, please? Alrighty, this one is another deep space image, the Elephant Trunk Nebula in Cephas. Let's hand over to Kevin for this one.
Perfect. Well, first off, I think the composition is very nice. You've got the trunk standing straight up right through the middle. It's very pleasing. The bright stars are doing a good job of helping the composition all across. I do think it looks like there's been quite a lot of noise reduction applied. It looks a bit soft, and maybe the color balance. I'd like to see the color balance improved a little bit. It seems to me a bit toward the brown, and I know there are quite a lot of colors here. Should be some quite bright magentas, blues, that sort of thing in there. So still room to improve, but a very solid effort.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Looks like the stars might be a little hot there as well. They're sort of losing a bit of color from what I could see.
Yeah, I think maybe a little bit clipped on the stars would be good to reduce them a bit. It would be nice.
Agreed. Let's go to the next image, please.
I love this.
All right.
Me too.
This is Comet G 2024 G3 Atlas, setting on a Takapu colony, that's the Australasian gannet, amphitheatre in West Auckland, New Zealand. Let's hand this one over to Bob.
Holy guacamole. This is quite a capture. Great job on the comet. I enjoy the star field, and the mix with sunset is just absolutely stunning. If there was one spot where I think might be improved would be um, toning down that foreground. I mean, I know the birds are a major part of the story, but they are so bright, they just grab all the attention away from all of that gorgeous light in the sky. Other than that, perhaps, watching those corners where some of the in the bottom right hand corner where we have that out of focus area, that could be a little bit rough there, but overall, this is just absolutely sweet. I think toning down the highlights in that foreground would just make this thing rock even further.
Yeah, I agree. It's the kind of images that makes me smile,
Yeah.
when I look at
Yeah.
it, and it's a good feeling. Beautiful sky, beautiful comet, tells a story.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Thanks
spent
so
a
much,
good
Steve.
30 seconds looking at this one, trying to think what could we say to improve.
And yeah, you're right
It's
about
very nice.
maybe the birds. It could be good. My eye is really kind of drifting to just stare at the birds, but it's great. It's awesome.
Right then. A strong entry, perhaps. Could we go to the next image, please? Looks like this one might be another one for you there, Bob. This is
Okay.
Alice Springs, Australia. It's a 2-row panorama. The Milky Way frames distant cliffs and Claypan highlighted by the rising moon below the horizon. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, very interesting use of composition with the very low horizon line there with semi silhouette. So that works. The fact that we've got the entire arch at this, it looks like a late point in the season for that, which makes it tough. Hence the 2-row composition. Where I see some possibilities for improvement would be some noise reduction. There's an awful lot of magentas and cyans mixed in really tight with a lot. Down by the horizon, things look really nice. And as you move further up into the night sky, things get noisier and it gets hard to see the Milky Way due to all that noise. But other than that, I think it's you're on the right path. There's no doubt about that.
Excellent.
Bob, can I ask you a question on that?
Sure.
Bob, would you do the noise reduction in the color specifically or in color and luminance?
Ooh, depends on how it was captured. I usually take care of my noise reduction doing my 10 exposures at a time and then blend them into Starry Landscape Stacker. And then that already takes care of tons of the noise and makes it much easier. I'm guessing since this is a 2-row panorama that very possibly these are all single capture images, which makes it tough. So it could be noise reduction software. It could be going ahead and, grabbing some of those colors and just pulling them down. It depends, I would play with it yin yang back and forth.
Thanks, gentlemen. It's probably also worth mentioning that as it's astrophotography, the stars need to look shiny. And these stars look a little bit gray, to my opinion. Let's go to the next image. Alrighty, this is the Running Chicken Nebula. This is taken on a ASCA FRA 400 scope with a Player One Poseidon one-shot camera, a Player One HA03 filter, and 32 hours of exposure time. Steve, this is in your neck of the woods. This is one for you.
Yeah, I've attempted this target quite a few times, and with this focal length as well. I love the composition. I think it's really well framed, really nice movement. Also really like the color palette for this, like the yellow hues and the rusty look and the blue looks really nice. The stars are shiny and right shape, right color. I think the only thing for me is the use of sharpening. I'm not sure if it's a combination of deconvolution and high pass or unsharpening mask to me, it's a little, it looks good kind of zoomed out, but when you zoom in, it's just, I can see what has been done. I think it's just a touch overcooked there. So personally, I would back that a bit to make gas look more like gas, and avoid the details being over embossed a little bit. That's my only thing. Otherwise, I think it's really successful capture from a photographer.
That's excellent feedback. Thank you so much, Steve. I'm sure the entrant can take that on board and make this image really sing. Could we go to the next image, please? Just before we go to there, I'd like to introduce Ari Rex to the panel. Ari is one of our legendary Australian landscape, nightscape, astro landscape photographers. And
hi, everyone.
Ari has 70,000 followers on social media. He's committed to sharing his panel and expertise with Milky Way workshops, which are highly sought after by photographers worldwide. And his folio includes work for Cathay Pacific, the Australian government, Questacon, Virgin, Foxtel, etc. And his distinctive style and extensive knowledge have earned him national and international recognition. Welcome, Ari. And on that note, could you talk to this image, please? This is the Milky Way seemingly drawn towards this windmill with the aid of a 50mm lens and a star glow filter. Over to you, Ari.
Straight on the plate. Hi, Andrew, sorry. Hi, everyone. Sorry for a delay. I ran a bit of an issue with my microphone. But yeah, this image, I really like it. It's well done. The Milky Way is captured beautifully. There's some little issues on filling up certain areas of the image, which would have been probably bright on when it has been blended in. There's some connection of the tower connections that are missing. So just a little cosmetic thing there on the top cross bars, the two that are together, it's missing a piece there, so probably you need to add that in. Yeah, overall, this is done really well. The colors of the Milky Way, it looks just a tiny bit saturated, but I guess this is captured with with a modified camera. Yeah, I quite like it. So well done, the photographer.
Thank you, Ari. A quick question also for your colleague, Bob, who works in this genre. Bob, what do we think about the star glow filter, the Akira Fuji effect that it produces? Does that add to the image, or do you think that that is distracting? What's your thoughts?
Well, it's all in our own art. For me, it feels like it's softened a lot of what's going on there a little too much. So for my taste, that softness kind of like takes away from all the the stunningness of the night sky.
Certainly creates a different, somewhat dreamy-like effect, does it not?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, let's go to the next image, please. All righty. What we have here is a plan to capture the star trails in Canada, turned into an absolute delight with the arrival of the Aurora Borealis. Bob, this is closer to your part of the world, so we'll hand this one to you first, please.
Okay, really nice composition. I enjoy the offset setting of Polaris, but we still have our complete circle that's rolling up there. The Aurora, of course, is just absolutely stunning. For a spot to possibly improve just a bit would be the foreground is in silhouette, but I'm not sure that it's served well being a silhouette in purple. Perhaps a little less saturation in that foreground where the silhouette is on the mountains. But overall, I really enjoy the composition and the feel of this. As a matter of fact, as I look at it longer, the composition really kind of goes there. The only other thing that might have a little bit of improvement would be a lower ISO to allow color to render in those star trails. As they are, I mean, they're absolutely beautifully placed, but they're all kind of blown out. But
Thank you
I
so
really
much.
enjoy this a lot.
Thank you. Kevin, did you have something to contribute to this one?
Well, I wanted to ask how we feel about having individual stars mixed with the star trails.
That's exactly.
I'm assuming the individual stars were riding along with the aurora, but don't know if that's an issue.
Yeah, I was wondering if this was an edit to be able to kind
Yeah,
of have
it
stars
is
that are not
definitely an
showing.
edit because the stature is over longer exposure. So yeah,
That's exactly what.
and yeah, I find it quite unique as well.
I
I kind
like
of
that
like
part
it.
as a blend. I do like that.
do
The
like
fact, you
that.
know, because you're not going to have the same exposure on the aurora as you would. It's just like having a different blend for your foreground. So I think in this case it works.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All righty. Thanks, everybody. That's great feedback for the entrant. Plenty of discussion on this one. Interesting to see how that one comes up. Should the entrant choose to lodge that one into the competition? Could we have the next image, please? All right. This is Aries tour under stars at Mount Kosciuszko National Park here in Australia in 2024. Let's hand this one over to Ari. This is in your part of the world.
Yeah, it's not too far from me. Very, very great composition. The way the image, the rocks pointing up at the core, it's very well. Great choice of portrait orientation. The only thing that will let the image down, it's so. When you, I assume that this is a blended image because there's a lot of dark on the rocks, on the shadow areas, and it makes it look just a tiny bit unnatural to have that bright Milky Way in this condition. So, but that's my brain. When I look at an image like this, it goes straight to that on the dark areas. But yeah, overall, this is a great image. Another thing that I would suggest usually when you focus onto this kind of images, the foreground subject has to be really sharp. So the focus, it looks like it's more on the stars, which it's fine, but yeah, I strongly believe that the focus should be more on the foreground subject.
Thank you so much, Ari. Just one final thought on the overall color balance of the image. Does it look a little cold to you guys?
Yeah, like the Milky Way could be a little warmer. And the stars also are like the aberration is pretty strong. And that's something I would probably have a look at correcting personally. And yeah, I felt the foreground was a bit bright.
Thank you so much. Could we have the next image, please? All right, this one is a single shot by a local dam or the last glimpse of Comet Atlas after a week of heavy cloud in Queensland. Bob, over to you, sir, first.
Yeah, it's a wonderful capture of the comet. It looks lovely there. I think in this case, it being, if the comet is the main idea of the subject, we need to tone down those foreground a bit. The framing is quite nice, but whatever lighting was used on the trees just really takes away from the stars and the Milky Way that's rolling across the top there. Could use a little bit more contrast. And like I say, if we could just tone down those trees quite a bit, I think that would be in service of the image. But like I say, I really enjoy the composition and the framing of it. That gives us a different look for sure.
Thank you, Bob. Ari, anything to add on this one?
Yeah, 100%. I agree with Rob for this. Yeah. This is a typical image where the photographer has done a great job using the available light to actually enhance the photograph, to capture the scenery perfectly. Focus is great right on the foreground, and the Milky Way, it adds to the image. Yeah, so that a slight probably vignetting would probably make this image better. But yeah, I wish those the available light was a bit of a warmer color to throw on those trees. Probably you can fix that on post. So yeah, if you can play a bit, it will take this image another level.
Thank you so much, Ari and Bob. Could we have the next image, please? All right, this is another one in the astro landscape world, and this is this person's first time participating in a critique session, and it's their first time stacking exposures, and they're looking to learn more. So, Bob, what can we teach this person?
When I look at this, the first thing I see is, again, the stacking has kind of taken care of some of the noise, but I'm still feeling some noise there. This is an interesting composition. I'm not sure that it works for me, the central tree driving straight into the Milky Way. I think we could add more movement by maybe shifting, instead of having the Milky Way be hidden by the tree, kind of shift over to the left and let the Milky Way come down and rain down toward the tree. I think might be a bit stronger. The color saturation feels like it's toward the blues and greens, and maybe could use just a touch more contrast in the Milky Way itself. Interesting.
Thank you so much.
For sure.
Thank you so much. Ari, anything else to contribute on this one? Just for the benefit of the entrant, this is their first time around.
Yeah, it's great. I really like the silhouette. It's captured great. Probably a little bit longer exposure of the Milky Way to bring. Yeah, there's a bit of noise on the Milky Way, but yeah, overall it's really good for first time. That's awesome job.
Thanks, gentlemen. That's fantastic. Could we have the next image, please? Alrighty, this is the Needle Galaxy taken with a 2032mm focal length Alt-Az telescope. Let's hand this one over to Kevin.
Yeah, so there seems to be some very good resolution here. I mean, I'm seeing quite a good detail in the dark lanes in front of that core of the galaxy. I'm assuming that given that it's an Alt-Az, that this was done with lots of very short exposures, and that's going to make it difficult to bring out more of this galaxy. I mean, it could use a brighter subject, or maybe whether it's more exposure time to get there or a bigger stretch that would help show a little bit more of the galaxy, and maybe also give an opportunity for a little more color variation, as it's mostly red. But I am quite liking that dust around the core.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Steve, anything else to contribute on this one?
Yeah, to me, I really like the natural color. To me, it almost looks like that would be the first stretch I would do to kind of get the color information and kind of get the inner structure of the core of the galaxy right. But then I would do a bit more of an HDR process where I'll do further kind of stretching to bring the dust a little bit more to the front and not have a background that's so dark. And I think that may help the photographer to kind of go through that process to bring the beautiful dust that's surrounding the galaxy and make it contextualize it a little bit more. That just being focused on the core. But it's really good core and really great details. So I think it's a really good starting point.
Thank you, gentlemen. Could we have the next image, please? All right, this is from the astro landscape world, and what we're seeing here is under the Milky Way's glow, we listen. science turns to wonder in understanding, connecting us to the cosmos and reminding us curiosity is our path to infinity. So says the entrance statement. Let's hand this one straight over to Ari. What are you thinking about this one, Ari?
Yeah, fantastic. I always wanted to do this image myself actually, with a full bow of the Milky Way. So yeah, it's great to see it done pretty well. Actually, the image would benefit a bit better if it's captured a bit with probably need to step down just a little bit that aperture. It's really crucial for capturing a more consistent sky, the stars, because up on top it appears a bit, the stars appear to be a little bit bigger, so not really consistent. And also the bow of the Milky Way, it looks not. We all know how big the Milky Way is, but yeah, I'm assuming that this is photographed with a really wide lens. So usually the Milky Way stitches that are photographed with a longer focal length, 24 to 35 mil, give a more pleasant and more realistic Milky Way bow. So that's the only thing. The other thing would be just a tiny bit of brightness on the dark areas on the foreground, because they look quite dark. But yeah, overall, even the editing is pretty good.
Thank you so much, Ari. Bob, anything to contribute there?
Yeah, just in addition, a couple of thoughts would be the town that's in the distance there, or whatever the light is up there. That's really the brightest area of the image. And one of the ways to tell that kind of thing is to flip an image upside down and go away. And when you come back to it, and where does your eye go? Do you want your eye to be looking at the galaxy, or do you want your eye to be looking at that brightness on the horizon? The other thing is, I feel like the towers, the telescopes or the radioscopes are tilted. So I think even though it might be actually a perfectly level image, kicking that a little bit to the right to have the radioscope be level, I think would be a little bit stronger for this.
Thank you so much, Bob. That's a great comment about flipping an image upside down to see where your eye goes first. Inevitably, it goes to the brightest point. And I think your comment there is one that everyone can take on board in almost any genre of photography. So well done.
If I may add my 2 cents, I think
Go
there's
ahead.
an opportunity to make the Milky Way just glow a little bit more yellow. And it will kind of, I don't know, I think there's an opportunity to make it stand out a little bit more color-wise. It's a little bit gray to me. And I think it will balance the bottom end, the green of the radio telescope a little bit more.
That's a good thought. Could we go to the next image, please? Okay, this looks like it's in the realm of Kevin's domain. I think this is in your part of your hemisphere of the world, sir. Could you talk about SH2115 and Able 71 captured in HOO? Looks like it's 26 hours of integration, half of that time with dedicated to each filter.
Yeah, if I read that, we've got about 25 hours of H and O, and then a little bit of 1 hour of RGB, I think is how it's being read. Which, if that 1 hour of RGB is what went into the stars, wow, they did a good job getting color in here. I'm not sure about the star spikes. I don't know whether those were added or whether they were native, because we don't know what kind of telescope. But the colors on the stars are really, really vibrant. Also, I like the composition quite a bit, where the red of those clouds at the bottom sort of makes a little hill for me, a little pareidolia going on here. And we've got blue at the top, like we would have for a cloud, which makes it a little bit of a landscape in the sky, which I always like. I think at some point, because we have to find something to help improve. The reds are very red. I might tip them just a bit toward the magenta, which is is true of the HA anyway. And maybe just a little bit more teal out of the O3 areas. But you know, putting it all together, it's a really beautiful image.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Steve, do you have anything to add for this one?
Yeah, I agree with the red. I would kind of try to push them a little bit towards magenta, add a little bit of blue to the HA, could be good here. Feels to me that the black point is just a little, I think the histogram is a touch too much to the left. I'll try to back it off a little bit. It will make it feel more kind of photographic. Here I feel that the background is kind of disconnected from the front subject a little bit. And maybe just a little bit, be careful with these dust lanes. They start to feel a little bit embossed. So I would back off some of the sharpening and maybe deconvolution. But yeah, the stars look like, the color of the stars is really awesome. And I really like the compositions.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. So a couple of areas there for the entrant to work on. It looks like it's otherwise well and truly on the way. Could we go to the next image, please? And what we're looking at here is the Aurora Australis over Pyramid Rock at Bass Strait. So let's hand this one straight to our resident Australian astro landscape photographer, Ari Rex.
You look
Ari,
like
you
you're
there?
muted, Ari.
Not sure if Ari's there, so we'll hand over to Bob. Bob,
Yeah,
could you
yeah,
take this
no,
one on,
I'm
please?
here.
Oh,
He's back.
Ari, you're back.
Sorry, sorry, I did. Beautiful picture of the aurora, and the foreground well framed. The only thing that would is letting the image a bit down. It looks like the aurora usually goes straight, but it's a bit like tilted, and yeah, that's it probably, I'm not sure if it is a single shot, this one. I didn't read it earlier. But yeah, it's probably a little bit more contrasty on the sky, and darken it just a tiny bit would blend it better with the foreground, because it looks a bit separated to me. Otherwise, it's a great image.
Thank you, Ari. Bob, anything to contribute on this one?
Yeah, agreed. That the possibly that bringing a little more contrast, a little darker to the sky, I think would tie it together much better. I'd almost like to see a longer exposure on that water. It's like right on the edge of, it's in between being that silky smooth and the still got some noise in there. So it could possibly be softened up. And I think that would give it just that extra feel of being captured over time.
Thanks, Bob. Kevin, you've got your hand up there. You've got something to contribute for this one?
Well, a bit of a question and a comment. So we've got some stars that appear to have coma. I believe that's the correct way to describe them.
Yep.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of our wide field landscapes are going to have that, and it's just a real problem with lenses. And there's two ways I've dealt with that. One is, of course, using BlurX to correct them. But if one doesn't have BlurX, one other possibility is after you take this image, close it down maybe to f5.6 or whatever it takes to get rid of the coma, and shoot one just for the stars, and then pull the bad stars out and put the good stars in post. It'd be another way to deal with it. I don't know, Bob and Ari, does that make sense?
Yeah,
It does.
it's definitely. Yeah. I agree with you on that. Definitely, the stars look just a tiny bit blurry. It takes away, especially when. Sorry.
If you were trying to do something like that, if you have the RC Astro plugin of remove stars, it really makes it possible. Whereas, and if you don't have something like that, it makes it very difficult to make that change.
Yeah, but really think of the stars as a separate subject. Like it's, I think it's really important, because this image is great. That's the only thing that kind of brings it down a bit.
There was a mention there earlier of BlurX. Kevin, could you just explain to the viewers, if they're not familiar with that, what that is?
Sure. Well, it's RC Astro is the name of the company that makes it. It's an AI tool built on astrophotos that can go in and fix stars. Basically, we know what stars need to look like. They should be round. They should be bright in the center and tail off as you go. And it can actually reformulate your stars for you. There's a sister product called StarX where you can actually remove the stars and work with them separately, make them brighter, make them dimmer, or even replace them with stars taken in a different image. And there's also, those cost money, but there's also a free version of the star removal and replacement software. Nikita Masora makes it, and I can't remember the name. Steve.
It's Starnet 2, and there's also a version of Blur Exterminator which is free, made by check him out, SETI Astro. He's got a whole kind of software suite. He almost got a free kind of PixInsight style software that he makes that has all these tools built in, and that's completely free to use. So I definitely recommend checking that.
Fantastic. Steve, if you wouldn't mind perhaps popping that in the chat,
Yeah, sure.
I can load it into the comments for the video when it goes on YouTube, and others can take benefit of that as well. Let's go to the next image, please. So this one is Astro Landscape, of course, and this is at Vikvatnet Lake in Lofoten. I'm guessing this is Iceland, forgive my pronunciation. I shot 2 images, a 2-minute exposure and an 8-second one. Then the aurora faded away. Let's start with Bob on this one, please.
Yeah, auroras are kind of out of my ken. So I don't do a lot of work with auroras. So that's, I think the aurora made a small teeny tiny appearance here in Arizona this past year. But other than that, that's not my my genre. But I enjoy the composition that was put together here with the split. I'm not sure that the exposure for the foreground with the for the foreground that's below the horizon there, where the reflection is on the water, it just feels a little off, and I'm not sure why, if I can put my finger on it. But it's a very cool capture here for sure.
Thank you. Kevin, you've got something to contribute on this one?
Yeah, I have done a bit of aurora photography, and looking at it, I'm glad that we were given this data where there's a 2-minute foreground and an 8-second shot for the sky. I tend to find these move quite quickly. The auroras, that is, they're moving fairly fast, and I tend to keep below 3 seconds. That keeps it from getting soft and keeps it a little more crisp inside the aurora. In fact, the last time I was shooting them in Greenland, I was using 1-second exposures. Because I really wanted to get as much detail as I could into that aurora. And as long as your camera can handle, and you've got a really wide lens, then you can get down to those faster ones.
Thank you. Steve, you've also got something to contribute. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, I remember when I first was looking at this image, I was like, oh, it's really beautiful, but there's something that doesn't feel right. And it took a while for me to understand what it was. And Bob mentioned it. It's the reflection of a mountain in the water. At first, I wasn't really noticing it. And I was like, oh, that's reflections. There's water there. And it's almost kind of, I wonder if that should be treated in a way that makes it more kind of mirrored-like. So I really get that mirror effect. And here, I think maybe it's too dark. But there's something going on with that. It just took me a while for my brain to compute what was going on. So this is just first impression that I was struggling with a bit.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I think that's excellent feedback for the entrant. A little bit of post-production on this one could make it even stronger. And the makings are certainly there for a good entry. Could we go to the next image, please? And Astro Landscape's obviously a popular genre today. And here we see the aurora of May 2024. I think that was the big one. Captured in Taranaki, New Zealand. Panorama taken from the famous Kent Road around 2 a.m. Harry, what are your thoughts on this aurora image?
Such a beautiful image. Quite like it. Fantastic leading lines, taking you straight to the beautiful aurora and the largest small Magellanic Cloud. Um, the the image appears to be just, especially the sky. I usually suggest to edit separately, thanks to the new selections in Lightroom, where you can select the sky easily. And if tune it just a tiny bit down, it will pop even more those spikes of aurora. I really also like the noise reduction is done just perfectly, because originally the Lightroom will take you to 50%, and it's a bit too much, but this is right on the spot where it still keeps that crispness on the contrasty areas. So it's really great image.
Thank you so much, Ari. And just while we're talking auroras, I'll put in a free plug for one of our fellow judges, Luke Sharkey, who has an exhibition with a couple of other fabulous photographers of auroras in all of their forms, including SAR arcs and Steve and everything else. And that's currently on in Hobart in Tasmania. So get down there if you want to see a whole bunch of really pretty aurora shots. And here's a good one. Bob, just before we leave this image, you've got something to contribute?
Yeah, just a little bit on the foreground itself, on the landscape. It feels like the wall or the trees and wall that are on the right-hand side and that are leading down, feels like they're really they're almost totally blocked up. And it feels like they would serve to have some detail. And then the area where on the left-hand side where there's a hillside in the background that looks like maybe there was a lot of light over there, but the blending in between the trees, there's some ghosting going on around there, and so some extra work would be called for to fix that up a little bit.
Thank you so much, Bob and Ari. Could we go to the next image, please? Alrighty, this is the Andromeda Galaxy. Over to you, Steve. This is your part of the world.
Yeah. So nice framing. We can see the whole subject, which is great. So good use of a FOV here to capture the whole thing. Also really nice details in the dust line. There's a good amount of details here, and really good handling of the core of the galaxy. So you can kind of see the swirling kind of dust line going all the way towards the core. I think maybe there's a little bit of highlight controls that could be done on like there's a little brighter galaxies that's right on the top left of the core that could be handled a little bit better. This one is a tough one to negotiate, but I think that's something to have a look at. The stars are pretty big. I would personally reduce them. And I think the color is a bit on the gray side. And I think there's some work to be done to bring the blues, the yellows, and the magentas that are hidden in there. And if a photographer could be bothered shooting some HA and adding it to this, we can really make it pop in a fantastic way. So this would be what I would do personally.
Thank you so much, Steve. That's great feedback for the entrant. Could we go to the next image, please? All right, the image description is the Dark Tower in Scorpius, an attempt to marry the beautiful RGB colors of the stars with the monochrome drama of the HA data. Over to you, please, Kevin.
Yeah, well, first off, the composition here is just fantastic. I love it. The tower really does look like a tower. You've got nice lines going through the background and establishing what almost looks like a horizon down toward the bottom. Star colors look really good to me. And of course, the detail is really solid as well. It's nice and sharp. The person who uploaded this talked specifically about using monochrome with the HA data and wanting to pair that with the stars. I actually think, for me, and I realize this is an artistic decision, that I would like to see that HA added to the RGB so that you did have the red color or the magenta color. I think that would improve it. But this is a creative decision, so it's not wrong. It's just how I would do it. But altogether, I mean, obviously, it's fantastic data and it's a very pretty image.
Kevin, it was E. Barnard who was well known for imaging the universe and the Milky Way and so forth in black and white back in the day. And some of those images still stand up today as being, I guess, legendary and iconic. Do you feel that perhaps, I mean, you mentioned the idea of adding the HA color to this image. I'm just wondering what would be your thoughts on actually removing the color from the stars and just going straight monochrome?
I mean, it's just a personal choice, right? I mean, I personally like color. So that's my personal choice. I have done an image with the same color palette before, and I tell you, I loved it when I did it too. So I guess it comes down to what your personal feelings are.
Absolutely. Well, the data's there for the entrant to play with, and no, it's certainly, as you said, it's a very strong composition. Let's go to the next image, please. Okay, this is a cosmic shift. This is a little planet projection of a 54 image panorama of a G4 geomagnetic storm photographed at 35mm. Who would like to tackle this one?
Well, I really enjoy doing little planets, so I can
You're
address
up.
that part.
Thank you.
Yeah, little planets are kind of fun to put together, and I've never seen one done quite this way with the telephone lines rolling out into the sky like that. That's kind of a very interesting look. Um, the little planet itself, I think, could be given a little more shape and form with just a little more lighting. A little, make it round, and then maybe bring down that the information around the outside, a little more contrast. I think would really enhance that and bring it together with the planet.
Thank you so much, Bob.
Very cool.
It's certainly an interesting image. Does anyone else have anything to contribute on this one? Ari?
Yeah, when I see a creative image like this one, just like you already win a lot of points there in creative side. But also have to think a bit about like where the attention of the viewers go. All the areas are beautiful. The down area that my eye keeps going there is a white bit in the middle of almost left side of foreground. I was hoping that there was a more interesting subject there than something that just the white grass bit. So yeah, probably would be best maybe just remove that, or thinking about going a bit that extra step of putting a subject there. Even the photographer, I've done one like this years ago, and it was quite fun. But yeah, my compliments to the creative imagery.
Thank you so much, Ari. Could we have the next image, please? Okay, this is the Propeller Nebula, also known as DWB 111 or Simes 57 in Cygnus, taken on a Celestron Rasa 8 from London. Let's go straight to Kevin on this one.
Oh, the black and white again for me.
Yep.
No, this is super impressive to get something like this from London, which I'm sure if there's Bortle 9 anywhere, it's London, right? So the power of an HA filter. I like the choices made on the composition to put the main thrust of it going down the 1/3 line on the right, and leaving us with some nice detail over on the left. Propeller is actually a tough object. There's not a lot of color there. I mean, if you had tried to do color, it is difficult to differentiate. So I can maybe understand why a choice is made here to present it in black and white. But as I said on the last image, I do prefer color, so I'd like to see some. I'd like to see it go on into being a 3-color image down the road. But very, very good data as seen.
Thank you, Kevin, and a testament to the photographer's capabilities to capture at this image, as you said, from Bortle 9 in London. Well done. Next image, please. Okay, this is the Great Peacock Globular, NGC 6752, and the surrounding star field. Steve, could I ask you to talk to this one, please?
Yeah, sure. First, really nice star definition. Like they're really like sharp and they glow and they've got a good amount of colors throughout. The one thing I'm noticing is gradients in the background. It's very patchy. There's a green, magenta, blue. So that's one thing I think in gradient correction that needs to be done a little bit better. I think this is probably due to the saturation just being added across everything, and then all of a sudden the background shows like all the gradients. So that's what I would do personally: decouple the stars from the background and treat the gradients. Otherwise, pretty good job.
Steve, one quick comment. What could I ask you for your thoughts on composition on this one, please?
Well, it's straight in the middle, right? That's but I kind of like to have subjects a little bit off center, but sometimes like a subject like that can work nicely, being focused in the center. It seems pretty well centered, but there's for example, on the edges, the stars being chopped off a little bit. Sometimes I'm being quite pedantic about making sure I'm not having some things cut out of the frames. Um, and also, I'm looking at some of the bright stars in the image. Sometimes it could be an interesting way of creating some sort of triangle between like two bright star and the globular cluster to shift it in a more interesting way. And I think there's potential for that to happen in this image with a crop, especially with this couple of pair of blue and yellow star at the bottom right corner of the frame. I would explore doing something with that.
Thank you, Steve. I think you're absolutely spot on there. So hopefully that's some feedback that the entrant can take on board. Could we have the next image, please? So back in the world of astro landscapes, this is a single capture of the Milky Way with a glow of the southern aurora here in Victoria, Australia. Ari, what are your thoughts on this one, please, for the entrant?
I'm just checking the details because, single capture, really well captured, bright, which adds on to bring those details of the dark area. So that's a great capture in terms of brightness. Composition is fantastic. The only thing that would I guess it would lift this image quite a bit is to darken the whole thing down a bit without losing the details on the dark areas. Let's remember that this is a night scene, and to make it look like a daylight, it's so the photographer has to think just about that to bring the image a bit to make the viewer think that this is a night image. Overall, it's just perfect. I like the editing too. It's just the brightness is a bit too bright.
Thank you so much, Harry. I think that's excellent feedback, just to give it a bit more impact and punch, perhaps. Could we go to the next image, please? All right. This is back in deep space. This is the North American and Pelican Nebula. Second attempt at narrowband imaging for this entrant, who has previously photographed this target, but they're aiming to improve each time. Let's see if we can help them improve perhaps even further. Kevin, this one's for you.
Well, I'm very impressed. This is the second narrowband image produced by this person, and it's pretty darn good. The colors, I like what they've achieved. The blues of the O3 area are spot on. We've got some nice reds, a little orange, probably where the S2 is, depending on how they did their mix. So it's very pleasing. They've almost brought out all the detail in that cloud in the center. And I've done that from Bortle 7, and so I know it can be done. It would help a little bit, I think, if that darkest spot in the middle had a little bit of detail from the dust cloud. There is a little bit of green kind of creeping in right around the edges of the dust cloud. I'd like to not see that there because the green really isn't real, and it can be a little unpleasant at times, although I don't mind a touch of green here and there. The other thing maybe would be a little bit just shifting the view a little bit over to the right to center things up, actually, because it's not in this case, centering the entire composition, I think, is fine. But yeah, very impressed with the second effort here.
Thank you so much, Kevin. And I think I agree with you. As a second attempt, that's pretty impressive. So well done to the entrant, and continue your journey. You're doing great.
Do you
Could we
mind
have
if
the
I
next
add
image? Oh, sorry, Steve, back to
can
you.
just add a little thing. Really good handling of the details. I'm assuming BlurX has been used, but really well. There's potential to add a little bit more purple to this image. I've seen some beautiful pictures of pelicans that has that additional color. I think it would really make it pop if this could be shifted a little bit in the blues. But excellent job.
Thank you so much, Steve. Could we have the next image now, please? All right, we're still in the world of deep sky objects, and this is a wide view of the Crescent Nebula. Wolf Ray at 134 and the cosmic soap bubble. This is 23 hours of data, 10 hours of HA, 10 hours of O3, and 3 hours of RGB. I'm going to hand this one straight to you, Steve, please.
So nice HO blend. It's kind of got a natural looking color blend, which is similar to RGB, which I really appreciate on this image. I think the main concern I have is a composition concern, is that you've got two subjects in this frame. So you obviously got a crescent at the top left corner and the other subject at the bottom right. To me, this is two images. Like I can see a really great kind of portrait on the right side, and I can see another image maybe as a landscape in the top left corner. And I think when you have two subjects like that in one image, my eyeball is ping-ponging between the two, and I end up in no man's land, the middle. So that's something to think about when you do composition. Where is your eyeball moving? And if you kind of don't know where to settle, I think it's a little bit problematic. So to me, that's what I would have looked at. But otherwise, the styles look good. The color seems to be good. Maybe a little bit too much over denoising on the subjects themselves. That seems a little bit blurred out. Maybe a little bit pushing the black point a little bit more to the right, and I think you're golden. But yeah, composition for me mostly.
Thank you, Steve. That is incredibly good feedback for the entrant, and something, a little bit of homework for them to consider where they're going to go with this one. Could we have the next image, please? Alrighty, this is a pretty well-known target, the famous Horsehead Nebula, a nebula that actually looks like what it's called. Imaged over 3 nights in February this year with a ZWO ASI 183 MC Pro, a Skywatcher Star Adventurer, and a ASCAR 65P HQ. Kevin, could we ask you to comment on this one, please?
Well, we've got a classic composition here, and it's classic for a reason. It's a good one. Given the equipment, I think the depth captured is really impressive. So we got a very good start. From the color standpoint, the blues seem to be a little bit oversaturated. They're really kind of standing out and standing alone. And the star up at the top, I believe it's Alma Lamb. The middle one, it's kind of cut off halfway. And I think as Steve was mentioning, those can be a little bit distracting. And so in this case, it might make sense to crop down a little bit, just to eliminate that distraction. I'm trying to get close here. I apologize. Actually, the detail is really, really impressive in some of these nebula. So I'm liking it. There is an area or two where things have gotten a bit soft, I think, from noise reduction. And one way to resolve that is to apply your noise reduction through a luminance mask so that it only hits the darkest areas strongly and it hits the bright areas much less so. That retains your sharpness. So good image.
Yeah, I agree. The transition between the high surface brightness and low surface brightness area in terms of denoising is a bit, it makes the low surface brightness stuff smeared a little bit, and that's what I would maybe tweak. But the details in the reflection nebula just below the horse head itself is really great.
Thank you, gentlemen. That's fabulous feedback for the entrant. Could we go to the next image, please? The image description here is the Milky Way setting over Oberon Dam. Ari, we haven't heard from you for a while. What would be your thoughts on this image, please?
Yeah, just a second. I'm trying to get this. Yeah, I just jumped in now. Yeah, nice capture. It looks the detailing would improve. I think the thing that lets down this image, it's basically what I said to the previous image about the noise reduction. It has been done a bit too much. You can see some, it has lost some details. I'm pretty sure the image has got details, especially in foreground, but on the lower part of the sky, it's pretty evident that it's going to be too much with bubbling of the sky. But yeah, overall, the capture is pretty good. Maybe remove a bit of the upper part of the sky. I reckon it's unnecessary, all that part of the sky up. The whole image is between the middle and the foreground. The foreground is focused and sharp. Capture, the focus is right. It just, yeah, that overdone a bit in noise reduction.
Thank you, Ari. Bob, could you suggest any other ways that perhaps compositionally this image could be improved?
Yeah, I think going to a square crop would help it. That the top of the sky there is a little bit redundant compared to what's going on with the scene. The other thing is it feels like the timing of the capture was too long. We're starting to show some serious star trails there. But other than that, I think they're on the right track.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Could we have the next image, please? And this image is Wombat Moor at Mountfield National Park in Tasmania in June with the aurora. Let's go to you first, Bob.
Yeah. With the time exposure, number one, the composition is nicely done with the foreground tree pulling us in there. But unfortunately, because we have the time exposure, that foreground tree is blowing in the breeze. And I don't think that helps when you're working a silhouette and you get all those soft edges there. So that can be a little bit tough. And then I enjoy the diagonal that's coming down there. And then the stars just look absolutely lovely. That middle ground, I think, could be printed down a bit to really bring it home.
Thanks, Bob. Just a quick question. Do you think the horizon is straight?
I was looking at that, and I think it is, and that was my first look was, is it straight or is it not? The tree is straight, and so and all those trees are straight up and down. So that tells me that the horizon is probably straight, because I'm also looking at that mountain there that's in the background, and that's going straight across. So it's one of those things that it might be better to go ahead and make that shift, even though it is realistic. That's one of those toughies when you do landscape photography that you kind of get caught on. Hey, it's a crooked horizon.
That's great. Thanks, Bob. Could we have the next image, please? Okay. This aurora has obviously been a very popular target. Here it is in May 2024. The aurora no longer visible to the eye. I decided to shoot a Milky Way dock photo and was pleasantly surprised. Ari, what are your thoughts on this image, please?
Yeah, beautiful and quite unique to get that splash of the red colors of aurora right on the of the galaxy. Pretty lucky to get this shot. Beautiful, beautifully composed. I like the leading line of the pier that goes straight to the Milky Way, to the mid ground, and then the Milky Way takes it up with aurora. Now, although the aurora is bright and beautifully captured, it's still it looks a bit too bright for me. Like if it can be just a tiny bit touch down in exposure, the sky. The foreground maybe a little bit too, but without losing those foreground details. And that, yeah, this image will be definitely, it will lift it quite a bit if the photographer does that in post.
Thank you, Ari. Do you find at all the little tuft in the bottom left on the edge of the frame, is that distracting to your eye?
Yeah, definitely, that is distracting too. The right on the bottom, just a tiny, that white grass there, definitely, yes.
Well, some
Good
thoughts
catch.
there
I
for
thought
the
actually it's on top of my Windows thing here, so I thought, like, it
some
went
thoughts
too
there for
straight
the
up, but
entrant. Let's go to the
yeah,
next
yeah.
image, please. This one, fighting a circumpolar moon. I took 2 images for this shot, 2.5 minutes for the foreground, and 8 seconds for the aurora. Bob, what would be your thoughts on this one, please? I know you're not an aurora guy, but it's still,
No,
it's
that's
still a landscape.
okay. I certainly do enjoy them, especially when they're done this well. I think that the aurora was captured nicely. It feels good. And I really enjoy the long exposure on that foreground. Really, just gives us that sense of time where the water has just gone just super soft. It's just lovely. I'm feeling like even though it's a moonlit image, that we might be just a hair bright. And then there's one star on the horizon or a light on the horizon that just kind of is like, that could disappear and not be a distraction because it's such a high contrast. So then it's right on the horizon on the water and then up one little notch. So sometimes just taking out some tiny little thing can just help you along.
I think you're absolutely right. Kevin, you've got something to contribute on this one?
Question for Bob. How do you feel about the really dark upper right corner?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Actually, I enjoy the fact that it moves over because we've got our light aurora. But again, I'm not an aurora guy, but as a landscape, I like to have a sense of contrast movement through the sky. I think it was handled well. I do see a little bit of magenta noise in there, so that might be handled as well.
Yeah, that's
And
what I
just
wanted to
quickly,
mention.
Steve.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to mention, the bulgy kind of pink in the background of the image, probably due to maybe over noise reduction. That's the only thing for me that I've noticed, but awesome composition.
Thank you, folks. That sounds like a strong contender. Could we go to the next image, please? And here we have a single shot of Aurora Australis taken at Lake Lonsdale in the Grampians in Australia. Let's hand this one to you first, please, Ari.
Nice image of the aurora. That reflection is just beautiful, very mirroring, like completely. It's really nice. The tree, it's placed a bit too in the right, but kind of it works well because it balances with aurora, especially the left side. So it seems just a tiny bit soft to me, the tree, but I think it's possibly from the over denoising. I might be wrong, but overall, yeah, this is a great image. Quite like it in landscape.
Do any of you gentlemen find the stars a little crunchy in this image?
Oh, I
Yeah,
do.
They're hard, yes.
So
But is
perhaps,
that necessarily a bad thing? I'm not sure that it's a bad
Yeah.
thing. And as far as that tree goes, I think adding just a little bit of contrast to the blacks, crushing them down would tighten that up a little bit because part of it, I'm sure, is a little bit of movement. But I think that making it a true silhouette would help it along.
There's one thing that I'm noticing, and I'm wondering what's going on, is the reflection of the mountains on the water. If you look center a little bit to the right, there seem to be a reflection of trees in the water, but it's not on top. I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
find the trees on top.
yeah. It's
Uh,
quite eye-catching.
so but I love the panoramic look. It's like looks like stunning. But yeah, this is just the only part. Just zooming in, being trying to be picky about it. Question mark about that one. Was something removed from the foreground at the top?
Interesting question. Let's move on to the next image, please. Alrighty. This is a 31 image panorama of the Aurora Australis, SAR arc, SAR arc, the Milky Way, and a 20% crescent moon.
That's awesome.
Alrighty, who would like to tackle this one?
I can say
Go
a
for
few
it.
things.
Go for it, Ari.
Yeah, yeah. Such a beautiful image, and yeah, having the moon in the shot. I've tried to do similar image with the moon with the Milky Way, but yeah, it just the arch of the Milky Way with it's such a great addition with Aurora. And what adds more to this image is that the foreground, the river, the water bit, where it kind of takes you, encapsulates and reflects just that aurora there. So it's like two images, although the Milky Way takes you out of the image, but it kind of, because it turns, it brings you back in with a light, right aurora spike and gets you back in. So yeah, it's beautifully captured. I quite like this image. Well done,
Thank you,
photographer.
Ari. Steve, you've got something to contribute to this one?
Yeah, it's amazing. The only thing I'm just noticing is there's a photographic tripod left in the frame. That's the only thing. It's just such a natural, beautiful setting. I would love it as if that wasn't in the image. That's all.
I wish there was the photographer there. Seriously,
Yeah,
that would
so
have
to make it, yeah.
Alrighty, let's go to the next image, please. And we're back in the world of deep space with the Eastern Veil Nebula. Kevin, could we ask you to talk to this one, please?
Sure. This was a lot of people's early images are of this. I'm going to guess that it's an OSC camera, maybe with a duo filter. The beauty of this object is it looks exactly the same in narrowband as it does in RGB, which makes it really fun to process. So I think they've done a good job with the capture. It's nice and sharp, good looking stars. The stars could use some color though. And it could be that this is a dual narrowband filter on OSC, and that's where the star color is gone. So it's a case where you might want to shoot some RGB data as well, just for the stars to add color, because that'll really makes these more narrowbandish objects pop. What could one do better? Well, I mean, you can. There's more there to be captured, so more integration time will definitely bring you more image, more nebula. Those are probably the first couple things that come to mind. But yeah, it looks like a very nice image.
Thank you, Kevin. And it's pleasing with the composition as well, in my opinion. Could we go to the next image, please? All right, so this is from Fingal Head's Rugged Cliffs. Fingal Heads is in northern New South Wales in Australia. The stars soften by a black mist filter as the Milky Way blazes over the ocean's misty roar. Bob, could I ask you to talk to this one, please?
Sure. I certainly enjoy this one, and the mist filter really gives it that extra thing because it works well with the sea that's doing its thing, with the time exposure there as well. The stars bloom out really nicely. This works for me. I'm not sure that our person there, although giving scale, that red shirt especially just kind of goes, hey, look at me. We have all these lovely, soft, beautiful tones, and then we have this high contrast person up there. So I'm thinking that this would be better served with air, but this composition is just stunning with the coming down on the third with the diagonal coming in and the edge coming up. I mean, really nicely done.
Have to agree with you, and looks like Kevin or Steve has something to contribute here. We'll take it from Steve, if that's okay.
Bottom left corner. It's a noisy patch here, so you can see there's a lot of noise, and then all of a sudden it goes smooth. So I would just have a look at maybe just denoising that corner to blend it more with the rest of composition, so it's a little bit smoother. But otherwise, I agree with everything Bob said.
So there we go, a strong image that could perhaps be even stronger. Could we go to the next image, please? Thank you. And there is no entrance statement for this one, so we'll hand this one straight over to you, Ari, if that's okay.
Yeah, thanks. I just checking a bit. Yeah, the image is single capture, pretty good. I would probably suggest a different crop for this image, like bringing it down a little bit more, so remove the sky, but and bring it a bit more towards the left, so you can balance the tree on the left with the shooting with the comet there. And yeah, the sky also looks a bit bluish. So from the job, maybe just a graduated filter from the front of from the raw POG area, softened up and warm it up a bit. The Milky Way, we all know it loves the warm, and would look much better. So yeah, that's my only suggestion. And obviously bring it down just a tiny bit of the exposure. It looks a bit too bright.
Thank you, Ari. On close inspection, there appear to be a whole bunch of bolides or meteorites down at the bottom left-hand side near the tree there as well. So the entrant has certainly captured a lot of celestial activity in this image for sure. Could we go to the next image, please? Okie dokie, this is the famous Dragons of Ara nebula, one of my favorite nebulas, in fact. This one's photographed with an ASCAR 400 scope, a Player 1 Poseidon OSC camera, and they've used an HA03 filter, a S203 filter, and this is 40 hours of integration time. We'll hand this one over to Steve.
First, really nice composition. Really good job with a one-shot color camera too, and to do a filter. I especially like the dust coming off the dragon. You can really clearly see that this is standing in front of the nebula. So it's been well processed in terms of balance. The stars look pretty sharp. I think they don't exactly look RGB to me, so maybe this is something to have a look at. The only thing I would say is the details, they look good once you zoomed out, but when you zoomed in, I think it's a little crunchy. So it's probably a little bit overdone on the sharpening, I would think. Like, this is where, you know, the details start to be embossed a little bit. I'll be a little bit careful with that. I love the gold flame look of sulfur. There's a fair amount of green in there that I would probably try to shift a little bit, maybe more towards the orange tone. That would be my preference. But otherwise, yeah, nice frame, lovely image.
Thank you so much, Steve. That's really good feedback for the entrant on this target, which is a very popular and well-seen image. Could we have the next image, please? And this one is Exploring Desolation Sound by Kayak. Our last night before getting back to civilization left us standing beneath the Milky Way, reflecting on our journey. Bob, could we have your thoughts on this one, please, sir?
Yeah, what a great composition and what a great feel, that sense of loneliness and the galactic center coming down on the subject in silhouette. That's handled very, very well. I feel like it's been hit with a saturation stick, We've got so many, we have the magentas jumping up there. We have the golds. We have, there's just so many different colors in there that don't quite live in the scene. And then noise reduction would be a big help for this as well. But man, well composed. Just, just I get kind of like little shivers when I look at that.
I love that hit with the saturation stick. That's the comment for the day. Well done, sir.
Oh.
Thank you, Bob. Could we have the next image, please? All right, this is the Milky Way rising over Bridal Veil Falls. It's a 55-meter waterfall in Waikato, New Zealand, and the foreground is a blue hour blend. Ari, this is your kind of specialty area. Could you talk to this image, please?
Yeah, yeah, it's a fantastic scenery, but with a couple of things that might need to be looked after. The main thing is the foreground. We all know this scenery with the waterfall. The foreground is super dark, so in this image, like it needs to come the editing of the foreground needs to come down quite a bit, because there's also, if you can see, there's no separation. There needs to be a separation between the foreground and the bright sky, and this one lacks of that. So yeah, that's the main thing about this image. Otherwise, it's captured beautiful, really sharp, tracked beautifully with a modified camera, and foreground yeah, needs lowering that exposure down to make it feel a bit more natural.
Thank you so much, Ari. They've done a good job with the color of Row-off Yukai there as well. It's looking very, very delicious up there. Could we have the next image, please? And this is the entrance, first time participating in a critique session, so well done. It's quite a brave thing to put your images up there for public discourse, so thank you for doing that. The entrant is hoping to consider entering this in Astro Landscape, and it's their first time stacking exposures. They're looking to learn. So Bob, what can we help to teach them, please, sir?
Yeah, we're looking pretty good. I enjoy the composition that's rolling in, where we have a diagonal coming down and the diagonal meeting it. I feel that it could have been served had both instead of being a central composition, had that been moved to the right. I think that would help it just a little bit, or move your body position to the left, whichever. That foreground looks as if we've lit it. We can probably ease it up and add some vignette on the bottom so that we're not driven out of the frame. Again, this would be one of those ones where you want to flip the image upside down and come back to it and go, where does my eye go? So other than that, I'm thinking, we're looking pretty good with, especially for a first time putting it out there.
Thank you so much, Bob. Ari, you've got something to contribute?
Yes, definitely. The image is, yeah, beautiful capture for first time. You're doing pretty well. The photographer is doing pretty well. One little thing, like when we light paint or brighten the foreground subjects, especially the trees, the bright trees that come above the horizon, must be a little bit careful there, because you brighten, it looks good, the trunk of a tree, the up to the mountain, but then it disappears above it, and that's a beautiful part of the tree. In this occasion, I would suggest probably with the light, with the torch, whatever light you use it to brighten the foreground, and the tree probably goes sideways. I know you need to do a little bit of a walk. But if you decide to light up the foreground subject instead of just near the camera, sideways will keep a bit those dark areas, will create that shadow, that those dark areas of the tree, and keep that interesting tree all over, even above the horizon.
More depth and dimension. Yep.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, gentlemen. I think that's great feedback for our first time entrant. Well done. Could we have the next image, please? Righty. We're going to hand this one to you, Steve, in a moment. This is the Carina Nebula, shot as an 18-panel mosaic. 18-panel mosaic, I'll read that
Whoa.
slower. With a Celestron, that's our sponsor, with their, in fact, you can win one of these, a 9.25 Edge HD. Now, Steve, the reason I'm throwing to you is because a couple of years ago in the first edition of this competition, you won the Deep Sky category with an image of Eta Carina, so I can think of no one better to comment on this particular image.
Yeah, it's a target that's pretty close to my heart. I love it, and I've been shooting it many times. So bright. It's one of the first target you shoot here when you start learning astro. I think they did a really good job capturing the detail. 18-panel mosaic. I know the pain. I've done those, and these are really big chunky files you get at the end. So it would have taken some time to process this. The detail's really good. The control of the brightness, especially in the center of Carina, is really good. There's the homunculus in there that's, you know, tamed Eta Carina enough so you can see it. I like the colors, that kind of rusty yellow look in the narrowband treatment is great. Gabriella seems to be pretty as well, like nice detail layer. I don't see it as being overdone. The one thing I would say is the background is very dark for me. So it feels like the subject is detached from the background. And if I would do something, I would just raise the black point a little bit much. So it feels, there's actually a lot more dust layers happening in these dark areas. And I think they're getting swallowed by the darkness. So that's what I would have a look at personally, to connect the subject a little bit more to the background and make it feel a little bit more kind of photogenic to me. So that's what I would do. But
thank you, Steve. Kevin, just quickly, please.
Yeah. Well, one of the beauties of an 18-panel mosaic is you wind up reducing resolution by doing some sort of binning in post, which is great via quadrature to help your signal to noise. And that should mean there's a whole lot of really nice information in those blacks that need to be brought up. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to do what Steve said. I would also raise the midpoint just a little bit to aid brightness, but still not blow out the highlights, which are so tough here, and they did a good job with.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, and that's great feedback. Could we go to the next image, please? And while we're waiting for the next image to come along, just like to again thank our sponsor Celestron. One of these lucky entrants will win a pair of 7x15 binoculars, the Skymaster ones, worth $300, and just for participating. So well done. How are we going with that next image, Daniel? There we go. Thank you so much. This image is a stacked shot at 50 millimeters of the Byron Bay Lighthouse as an experiment. Let's hand this one over to Bob.
Yeah, what a fun try. We got out there. We've got the light is expanding out on either side, so that's, lighthouses can always be fun to shoot. I feel like we're really fighting the ambient light on the right hand side a lot, which is taking away a lot of contrast. But the composition is nicely done. The Milky Way has been processed interestingly, but again, fighting the light on the right hand side there. Unfortunately, I feel like there's a ton of noise that's maxed out in here. But overall, I enjoy the composition of the Milky Way, giving us a nice diagonal with that very low horizon there that's working well.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. I think you've hit the nail on the head with that one. Absolutely. Could we go to the next image, please? And this is the Milky Way arch over Hunua Falls, a 30-meter tall waterfall wrapped by forest in Auckland, New Zealand, taken under the winter solstice. Ari, could you comment on this one for us, please?
Yeah. great, very unique composition, and works pretty well using the distortion of the lens. It works pretty well. It's a bit similar to the tip that I gave to the previous image about the foreground. It's quite bright. The foreground, you don't need you should be careful when you photograph the foreground with the Milky Way, with the rich Milky Way and rich foreground. It makes the image quite unrealistic and busy. The Milky Way is really strong. So the foreground at night, we don't see this light especially when we have clear visibility of the Milky Way. It looks a bit unrealistic. So yeah, just tone back with that foreground light without losing the dark details, and it's pretty good. The saturation, it's spot on for the foreground. It's just that brightness that needs to come down, in my opinion.
Thank you so much, Ari. It appears that the stars themselves look a little bright as well. So
the topper part, yeah, the boost part.
So I think you're spot on with that feedback, and hopefully the entrant can take all of that on board. Could we have the next image, please? And here we have the circumpolar moon was difficult to work around, so the entrant has tried to include it. This is a 2-minute foreground and an 8-second aurora. Let's hand this one over to our resident not aurora guy, Bob.
That sounds like me.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the aurora was handled well. I think it's been mentioned earlier that when shooting auroras, if you go for a shorter period of time, you're going to get just a hair more detail going there, but the reflection looks just absolutely stunning there. Composition is nicely done with a diagonal coming in and wrapping around to us. I feel like with the foreground on the left being so bright, the foreground on the right-hand side has gotten so dark and so blocked up that we're fighting across purposes there. So kind of blend, making the light work a little bit better, I think would take this, but overall, nicely done.
Thank you so much. Could we have the next image, please? Okay, the image description is a composite of the partial phases and totality showing Earth's shadow during the March 2025 total lunar eclipse. Steve, can we hand this one to you, please, sir?
Sure. So I'm not like a huge moon expert, but I think like the processing looks really natural to me, of the colors of the moon, and I kind of like the composition aspect of it, having kind of a diagonal look of the moon. Often, this is done kind of horizontally. So yeah, I appreciate the work the photographer has done. What has this been shot with? I'm not too sure. Doesn't really say. But yeah, overall, I like it. Maybe it looks like the detail on the moon surface looks a bit soft to me. So maybe it may have been taken with not something that has a huge amount of focal length. I'm not sure. But yeah.
Thank you, Steve. Kevin, you've got something to contribute with this one.
Yeah, quickly. Well, first off, I really like the lovely square shadow of the flat Earth. Just kidding. It's a beautiful image of the round Earth shadow. But what I'd like to see is the moon that's not in shadow to be a little bit brighter, a little bit more contrast, like you would see out of a nice full moon.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I just have one thing that because this is one of those ones where I think it's really interesting, but it's the exact same moon replicated. It hasn't moved. When you go through the time, we have exactly the same vision there. So it's just replication of them, and I think it would have been much more interesting had it been done over time.
That's a good observation. At the moment, it looks a little like a pulsar in some ways. Let us go to the next image, please. Okay, this is back at the Carina Nebula, the depths of the Carina Nebula with a QHY Minicam 8 and SHO filters with narrowband stars. This is only 30 minutes of integration time per filter. Let's go straight to our resident Carina expert, Steve Buddy.
Cool. So this is a very bright, vibrant rendition of this target, which I appreciate definitely the color palette. Maybe, I mean, to me, it's just a touch oversaturated. Like I would kind of, I heard the saturation stick mentioned earlier on. I think this has been hit with one too. So I would kind of, even though I do appreciate the rendition, the Eta Carina looks like they've tried to reduce the brightness of it, but it's got this weird kind of halo, pink halo around it. I'll try to fix that up. The dust lane, which goes across Carina, it's actually a big dust cloud, and it looks like it's part of the background because the black point is too much, and you don't get the impression that this is sitting in front of Carina, and it looks like it's at the back. So that's what I would have a look at personally. Otherwise, the stars are looking pretty good, I think. This is a new camera, I think. This is kind of a entry level kind of gear. So this is really quite nice. Nice job with the details too.
There you are. Congratulations to the entrant, and thank you so much, Steve, for your feedback. Could we have the next image, please? And once again, this is the entrant's first time in participating in their critique session, and they're looking to learn. So, Ari, what can we help them with this image, please?
Yeah, definitely. The image, it's quite interesting to with Milky Way going in that direction. It's a bit unusual, but yeah, the composition works well with this foreground. The only thing that lets this image down, we need to think about it about the foreground. The mountains are whitish, bright mountains, and with the sky, you have to think remember that the sky is always brighter than the foreground. And in this case, we need that separation of the sky. It's very hard to do with like bright mountains and snow mountains, but we can still create that separation by even doing just a tiny bit to darken a bit that foreground, just the top area where it connects with the Milky Way. Otherwise, overall, it's quite nice. The foreground, I like that front bowl. It takes you up, but it's the only thing that I would suggest.
Thank you so much, Ari. Could we have the next image, please? Alrighty, this is the famous Sombrero Galaxy, and this one's photographed with a Celestron 9.25 Edge HD, which is in fact the prize that is on offer for the overall Astrophotographer of the Year in this competition. Let's hand this one straight to Kevin.
Thank you. I have definitely shot this one in the past. And the first observation is we've got a lot of really nice detail on the inside. You can see the dark dust lanes swirling around down to that very bright core. The core of this galaxy is extremely bright, and it becomes a real problem to deal with. So I think they've got the core just right. What can be better, though, is the black point. There's a lot of the glow that's sort of been lost in the black point, and it makes the glow just a little harder than it should be. I think that you can bring that up, and there'll be a longer gradient leaving the brightness of that galaxy. We do have a lot of nice globular clusters that you can see in the halo. That's why it looks like there's extra stars, and a lot of those are actually probably globulars. Last comment, we've got a little blue problem on the right side of most of the bright stars. So maybe some blur X, or I'm not quite sure optically what would cause that.
Thank you, Kevin. One of the joys of an image like this is once we've enjoyed the hero, it's always fun to play sort of Where's Wally galaxy spotting in the background with an image like this. And I think you're spot on with the black point, because some of those wonderful tiny little faint fuzzies are a little bit hard to spot here in this one. So I think your commentary is absolutely perfect. Thank you. Could we go to the next image, please? And what we're seeing here is the aurora over Wombat Moor at the Mount Field National Park in Tasmania. Ari, thoughts on this image, please?
Yes, beautiful couple of straight up. The whole low, whatever you can with the port.
Good problem with the microphone, I think.
Sorry, Ari, I think we've lost your microphone
Hello,
there.
can you hear me?
Just while we check that, we might hand this
Can you
one
guys
back
hear
to
me?
Bob.
We'll do it again.
Oh, sorry.
We'll go straight to Bob on this one
Yeah,
while
he's
Ari
broken
sorts
up.
out his technical issue.
Yeah, you know, when I look at this, I kind of feel like, again, it's one of those ones that needs to be printed down some, and possibly a slightly shorter exposure. I believe would help this. Having better foregrounds or more interesting foregrounds can help an image quite a bit. You know, we have, you know, a silhouette with trees across the bottom, and we've, you know, obviously that's not our great spot, so they've just given us just a little bit to give us a sense of place. So for what was there, I think there was a nice job done, but sometimes need to look a little bit harder for where you want to have as your foreground when you're doing the landscape astrophotography.
Thank you so much, Bob. We'll go to the next image, please. And this is a single shot of the Milky Way over Lake Lonsdale in Victoria. Ari, are you with us?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you see me?
Sounds like
Hello?
you. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, cool. Sorry. Yeah, nice composition, beautiful image with the Milky Way. Trying to, it looks a bit soft foreground, and also yeah, it would benefit when we photograph the
Okay, Ari, I'm
the
sorry.
foreground.
I'm going to have to stop you there, Ari. We're only getting every third word from you. You're having some microphone issues.
Sorry, yeah,
So I'll hand this one over to Bob, if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah, this is as Ari was saying there, you know, compositionally, it's pretty cool. Enjoy that the silhouette of that tree. Unfortunately, we're running into quite a bit of noise, and if I may suggest, when shooting your foregrounds, or was this a single? Was this a single? Yeah, it is.
It is a single shot.
Single,
yes.
Yeah, singles make it really tough to deal with that noise. We have just a ton of noise in the foreground that's very distracting. And then I think that's what's kind of holding up the sky as well. But if instead of doing a single, if you can fire off 10 frames and then use the median filter in Photoshop, or Starry Landscape Stacker, or do two separate exposures for the foreground and the sky, you'll end up with a much, much cleaner image.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Could we go to the last image, please? Thank you. This is an astro landscape, of course. Ari, how's your sound going there with your microphone?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, good. Sorry, my internet is not so good in this.
Okay, it's not his microphone, it's the internet.
Yeah.
It's the internet. Yeah, it's not so. Anyway, if you can hear me, I'd like to say a couple of things about this.
I'm sorry, Ari. I think we've lost your connection there.
Yeah.
I'll throw this one to Bob again, if that's okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
If you have to. No, happy to share some thoughts on this. Very interesting place to be shooting in, going with the bridge. Unfortunately, when you have cars traveling like that, if you let them register too much, it kind of takes away. Again, the area of highest contrast is where your eye is going to go. So, like, you know, I see a really lovely Milky Way, but when I look at the image, mostly what I see is that streak of light across, and then the fact that the area in the foreground has been lit by those by the car going by, which then leads us with the color cast. So that would need some extra work to take this up to the next level. But cool attempt.
Well, thank you so much, Bob. And that's all the images that we have time for this morning. So I'd certainly like to just recap here and thank our judges, Ari Rex, Steve Boddy, Bob Coates, and Kevin Moorfield for their generosity and time today. I'd also like to extend a special thanks once more to our category sponsors, Sidereal and Move Shoot Move, Deep Sky West, Chroma Technology, our runner-up sponsor, Astrography, and of course, our major sponsor, Celestron. Now, Celestron have generously donated a pair of SkyMaster 15x70 Pro binoculars valued at US $300. And the lucky winner of that, I'm pleased to say, is Bryce G from the USA. Bryce, congratulations. You've won yourself a beautiful pair of binoculars, and they'll be coming to you from the lovely team at Celestron. So don't forget, folks, to enter. You can, of course, win, if you have a Celestron OTA, you can win a Celestron Origin Intelligent Home Observatory valued at $4,000. And there are some wonderful other prizes on offer. The competition is open and closes in less than 2 weeks now. I can't believe it's that close. And the entries are coming in thick and fast. So jump onto their website and pop your entries in, and don't miss out, because there's some fabulous prizes and education on offer, because we'll be broadcasting each of the top 25 judging scenarios live with a team of 5 judges for each category. And we look forward to seeing you there. So my name's been Andy Campbell. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and good luck with your entries. Take care. Clear skies.
Yeah.
Oh my God, look at that picture over there. There's the Earth coming up. Wow, is that pretty?